everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone. That gentleman right there with the fancy shirt is Devin. And what we got up for you today is the trial of Chicago 7.
We want to underscore again that we're coming to Chicago peacefully, but whether we're given permits or not, we're coming.
We're going to Chicago to protest the Vietnam War.
And there's no place to be right now but in it.
We watched for a decade while these rebels without a job tell us how to prosecute a war. Well, they're going to spend their 30s in a federal facility, real time.
People say, you know, Abby, are you concerned about an overreaction from the cops?
Holy shit.
And this movie came out in 2020, and it is nominated for a bunch of awards, with the awards being Best Picture, is being for Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Cinematography.
It's also notable. It's also notable before we continue. The person who wrote the screenplay, Aaron Sorkin, he also directed the film, so it's like a whole thing.
Woo. Okay, it's everything in one batch here. Yep. So, out of all those, personally, how I feel about this film from watching it, I understand Best Supporting Actor.
Wait. Let's back up just a little bit and let's talk about what this movie is about.
Yes. So
the movie is about the trial of it's actually 8 people. It's 8 people. It's not 7. It started off as 8 and it was whittled down to 7. And it's a trial of these originally 8 people who were accused of starting a riot at the 1968 Democratic Convention. Now, what makes this trial interesting is that these people's involvement with the riot that they're accused of starting is super dubious. Like, it's not, some of these people, they don't really know each other. Some of them just kind of know of each other. Some of them are complete strangers, but they're all being tried together by the newly elected Nixon administration as far left instigators. So it's very interesting. It's very clear from the get-go that this is all just a kangaroo trial. Like, it's pretty much just a political move by the Nixon administration.
So the 8th person on trial on here was Bobby Seale, and I believe he was the co-founder of the Black Panther Party because Huey was in jail, right? And the person that was sitting behind him in the film was Fred Hampton. As you know, we reviewed his movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, earlier on our show, and you can check that episode out. Right. He was giving him counsel, whispering here because he didn't have a lawyer to protect him, and the lawyers that was protecting the other 7, he wouldn't be his lawyer.
Right. So this court, it was kind of a joke, and Sacha Baron Cohen's character, he knew it was a joke, and at no point was he ever serious about this whole trial. So, but one of the things that proved that this whole trial was a sham was as soon as the judge walked out, Bobby Seale was like, "Hey, I don't have any representation. That's illegal. I can't be in here without any legal representation." And the judge was like, "You've got a lawyer standing right next to you," and he's like, "But that's not my lawyer. My lawyer is in the hospital for gallbladder surgery, and he asked for this trial to be postponed, but you declined, so I have no representation. So
why am I here?
What am I doing here? This is illegal. I'm not supposed to be here." The judge, and what's funny about the movie was the judge. He was either completely senile or he just didn't care. He was like, "Look, man, you got a lawyer next to you. That's all I need. Done." And he's like, "That's not my lawyer."
Exactly.
And again, that's kind of the funny point about this movie is these people, they weren't these 7, originally 8 and then 7. They didn't know each other. They had no affiliation with one another, not really. And Bobby Seale was only added to the 7 to make 8. He was only added to try and scare the jury, to have a scary black man with ties to the Panthers, and he's got a beret on, his scary hat. That's what he said.
Take off your scary hat. That's what Fred Hampton said.
Yeah. So he was only there to scare the jury into convicting the group. And like you said, Fred Hampton was sitting right behind Bobby Seale, whispering into his ear, trying to give him some sort of legal counsel because he had none at all. And like you said earlier, it's kind of funny. This movie was kind of it's kind of like a quiet prequel to Judas and the Black Messiah.
Quiet prequel, yeah. Because all this stuff happened.
Yeah. So I was like,
it happened some months before he was assassinated,
right,
and executed, because they did.
Right. Before Fred Hampton was executed.
Huh?
Before Fred Hampton was
executed, because they did show. And the one thing I did like about this film, they did when the things were happening, when the Chicago 7 was explaining what happened during the riots, or it was peaceful protesting, but it was riots that the police started. Okay, and they went from the film to actual footage. I love when a director does that, because they're like, I'm showing you actual footage to let you know that this really happened, okay? and this is as close as I can get it on film to what the actual events were. And I liked when it's horrible images, but they showed the images of the apartment where the Black Panther Party was that night, where he was it was raided by the FBI.
Where Fred Hampton was.
Where Fred Hampton was. And it was raided, and where he was executed. And they tried to make it seem like Fred Hampton had a gun, and that's why they retaliated and shot him. When Bobby Seale was in prison, when the lawyer and Tom came to visit him and tell him about what happened to Fred Hampton, but Bobby, he already knew. He was like, he had a shot in his shoulder at an angle while he was down, and the next one was in his head. How can you raise your gun when you shot in your shoulder?
He was shot in the shoulder first. You can't aim a gun if you've been shot in the shoulder. You can't squeeze the trigger. Second shot was in his head. Fred was executed.
Moreover, to my knowledge, Fred Hampton was in bed.
Yes, he was. When
they shot him. And some people think he might have been drugged. And they insinuated that in Judas and the Black Messiah, that he may have been drugged, and that's why he slept so heavily during the shootout. He might have died from the drugs. I don't know, but I believe he was shot in bed. So right, they tried to make it look like Fred Hampton fired back, but he did not.
Yeah, Bobby Seale, he recognized that, and he made his case very known that if I'm not gonna have a lawyer, I'm gonna represent myself. And that judge kept on, talking to him, and he was like, "I'm gonna hold you in contempt of the court, you know what I'm trying to say."
Contempt of court.
Mm-hmm. and
the characterization of the judge is like really, it was both funny and depressing at the same time. Where again, they made it kind of vague as to whether or not this judge was just an absolute monster, or if he was going completely senile. Because at the beginning of the trial, so just to clarify things, the prosecution on behalf of the federal government, the Nixon administration, was going after these originally eight people. And so the lead prosecutor gets up to give his opening statements. He's like a young guy.
By Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Mm-hmm. And he's a really young guy, and this is like his first big thing. So he's got this really great opening statement that he's just gonna say and wow the jury. But he keeps being interrupted by the judge, and the judge is like, before we continue, I just want to make sure that there's someone on the defense that has the same last name as me. I am me, and he is him. We are different people. Thank you. Oh, and also I would like to mention that we have no relation. We are also not related. So I'm here. I'm the judge, and that guy's over there. He's in the defense.
It's like,
you may continue. And the prosecutor is like, what the heck?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to clarify something for the jurors. There are two Hoffmans in this courtroom, the defendant, Abby Hoffman, and myself, Judge Julius Hoffman.
It's like that one meme, like, boy, if you don't shut the fuck up.
Boy, if you don't get...
But I thought that was super revealing though for the prosecutor. He's like, because he had prepared. He was like, I'm ready. This is my big moment. But it was clear that he didn't need to do all this because it was baked. The judge was not going to hear anything. The judge was already going to be on the prosecution side. He was as soon as the courtroom started, the judge was trying to separate himself from the defendants. Like, oh, okay, yeah.
But you see what
this
Sacha
is
Baron
rigged.
Cohen's character was saying. He was making fun of him.
I didn't want there to be confusion on the matter.
Man, I don't think there's much chance they're gonna mix us up.
He did not care.
He was. Well, he didn't take it seriously because he knew the judge wasn't taking it seriously.
But he said, "Father,
he knew this was
no."
done." Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But the guys in the defense, the 8 that were on trial. I keep going 7.
Because
8, 7,
something
8.
happens to where it becomes 7.
Exactly.
And it's very disrespectful to the United States court.
Right. So it starts off as 8, and these people represent at least 3 different factions. We've got of course the Black Panther Party, it was represented by Bobby Seale. Then we've got some like leftist student group. That was led by Eddie Redmayne, and then we have like some what are called yippies. These are like young people who want for like progressive politics or something. Who's represented by Sacha Baron Cohen. And most of these people, again, they really. Oh, and there was also an older guy who was just anti-war. He didn't like
violence,
the war in
Vietnam. None of that
exactly.
And he was.
But these people, they didn't know each other. They were just like people. They just were picked from the crowd. They were just chosen out of the riot to be like, hey, you guys shall represent the quote-unquote radical left. The end.
Yeah.
I thought that was like really screwed up.
I agree. The thing that happened to Bobby Seale when he was trying to express, the things that's going on within like, I should not be here. They basically held him in contempt like 3 times while it was happening. And at the last time, that asshole of a judge was like, bailiff, take this this man to the back. And this was after when he was talking about after Fred Hampton got shot and executed. He was making his point made about that, and he was like, I shouldn't be here because I have no reason to be here. And
moreover, he was not part of the riot. He wasn't there. He'd only been in Chicago for 4 hours.
That's it.
He just got there.
That's it.
He was not part of the riot at all. Like they just
that is the most strangest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. And he was making himself known about this, and that's moreover why he needed that lawyer there and why he shouldn't have been there. But they took him to the back, they whooped his ass, and they put chains and they gagged him. And
the judge after Bobby Seale kept interrupting, trying to defend himself because he was like, well, I should be cross-examining some of these witnesses because I don't have a lawyer here, so I guess I'm representing myself. And the judge was like, no. And the judge was like, look, if you don't stop interrupting, I'm gonna hold you in contempt. He kept interrupting, and the judge told the bailiff, like Tyrone said, the judge told the bailiff to take him to the back and handle him as he should be handled.
Marshals, take that defendant into a room and deal with him as he should be dealt with.
And he was beaten, and then he came out bound and gagged and chained to the
in
table.
An American court, and that's exactly what Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character said. He's like, "Sir, you have a person here gagged and chained in an American court. That does not look good."
And moreover, what makes that really crazy is Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the bad guy here. He's part of the prosecution working on behalf of the Nixon administration. And he's like, yo, you've got a black man in chains with a gag in his mouth in your courtroom. This is we can't win like this. The jury is gonna look at that and think we're a bunch of monsters. So They eventually let him go and declared a mistrial for Bobby Seale. But not for the rest of the 7. They were still on trial.
They kept them there. There's a scene where Sacha Baron Cohen's character and Eddie Raymond's character was talking, and Sacha Baron character, his character was like, "I don't know why you're here." He's like, "Why are you here?" Because he said, "Why did you say?" What did he say? Why did you?
So to be clear, so Eddie Redmayne represented these like students for
the fight.
I think it was called Students for a Democratic Society. I think that was the group he represented. And his version of progressive politics was you elect someone progressive, and then after you elect someone, you try and get things passed. And that's his idea. Sacha Baron Cohen was much more of a cultural revolutionary. He thought, look, things aren't working right, so let's just tear down these institutions from top to bottom. And so they did not agree on anything. Again, I must emphasize,
They did not know each other.
These people didn't know each other. These are strangers.
They did not know each other.
They're not friends. They weren't working together. But this trial was to make it look like they were working together. And so, like Tyrone said, they had a really interesting conversation. Go ahead, Tyrone.
And you basically said what I was gonna say is that you're good. He basically said that we need to have an elected official in there to be able to create change, and it kind of mirrored. I'm gonna say it kind of mirrored Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
That's true, actually.
It's like we need to use any means necessary to tear down this hypocrisy of a government when it comes down to, especially to this Vietnam War. And
exactly, that's really what this boiled down to. It's really people really being upset about the Vietnam War. Go ahead.
So I just thought that scene. I just want to say that scene was amazing.
Yeah, it was really interesting because Sacha Baron Cohen's character, he kept talking about how they should end the war, stop killing innocent people. But then Eddie Redmayne was like, you don't really want them to end the war. You know you don't. Because the second this war ends, the spotlight is off of you. So you don't really want them to end the war. They seem to agree with each other's politics, but moreover, like their tactics. One person, again, wanted to win elections, and the other person wanted to tear down institutions. So it was a really interesting political fight.
It kind of goes back to a character that I talked about. Remember we were talking about Zemo?
Mm-hmm.
In a couple episodes before, we were talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, how Zemo looked so clean cut.
Oh yeah.
And then I said he reminds me of Zahir from the 3rd season of Legend of Korra.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Zahir's whole point in being the villain in the story was he wanted to tear down establishments that ruin people's lives and get back to the natural order of things, which was natural chaos, natural order. No establishments, no kings, no presidencies, none of that.
And it's kind of, I know, I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen that, so I haven't seen The Legend of Korra, but from that clip that I found for the last episode, Zahir looked crazy, and when he was locked up in jail, and so Eddie Redmayne makes a point about Sacha Baron Cohen's looks, and he's like, you look insane, because Sacha Baron Cohen has this big afro, and he's wearing this like crazy like tasseled shirt, and he's like, you look crazy, and they don't even want to hear what you have to say, just you standing there looking like that, and they kind of joked, they said like not wearing adult clothes. You standing there looking like that is just going to end all progressive politics for 50 years. All they need is just your picture. That's it. And Sacha Baron Cohen's like, I don't care what I look like. I care about change. I care about making big moves, big changes. So I thought it was like a really interesting tug of war.
And then when you look at that, he is absolutely correct, because nothing has changed within this political warfare.
Yeah. And beforehand, me and you were talking about it made me think where'd these people go? Nothing. There seems to have been no changes at all between 1968 '69 is when this ended. '68 is when the riot was. There seem to have been no changes at all politically between now and then. So it's like, where did these? So did the so-called progressive people? I guess they lost because there's been nothing. It's the exact same fight over the exact same things, with pretty much the exact same people. With people putting black people on trial just because they look,
have them there.
Yeah, just because they look scary. Exactly. Just to scare good white people. Like, wow, nothing has changed.
Now, this show, Mostly Wrong Opinions, is not a political show. We're not trying to tell people to give any ideas on what side, left, right, upside down, whatever it may be. But when we do watch a form of media and we do have something, strong to say about it, we are going to comment about it. And we do expect for you to leave your comments down below. Okay?
Well, you can't really talk about this movie without talking about politics, because that's really what
that's what it's all about.
That's really what this movie's about. And the politics of this film is underlined by a cameo by Michael Keaton. So Michael,
I was just about to say about him.
Yep.
Remy Clark.
Yep, exactly. Remy Clark.
Clark.
He was the former Attorney General for the previous Johnson administration, a Democratic administration, and they did an analysis, an internal review of the riot, and they came to a completely different conclusion from the Nixon administration. The Nixon administration, they came to the conclusion that these 7 people started the riot, and they came there to start the riot, and they started the riot, and Nixon wanted to, again, crush his political opponents with this riot. The Johnson administration, who were Democratic, it
was at their stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, mm-hmm. It was at the Democratic convention. Johnson wasn't there, but it was.
It wasn't there, but it was at a political event for their side.
Yep, exactly. They came to the conclusion that it wasn't the riot. It wasn't the protesters that started the riot. It was the police. And so what's really interesting is the movie shows what happened. It didn't show real life footage, but it shows what happened. And so essentially what happened was there was a young kid. It was in the movie, it was a black guy. I don't know if it's a black guy in real life. I'm not sure. It was a young kid. He was watching a concert that was going on during the protest, and he climbed a flagpole to get a better view. This seemed to piss off the police, and they started pulling him down off the flagpole.
Yep.
That agitated the crowd, and the police got scared, as they always do, and they started beating people. And after that, the crowd had 2 options.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
Before that happens, where in the film where they all got agitated, if you remember, the lawyer came into that room where Sacha Baron Cohen's character and Eddie Raymond's character was talking, and he was like, "I'm gonna put you on the stand and ask you these questions about basically what happened that night and what your involvement was." And he basically said that you incited the riot by telling them to go and fight and all that stuff, which is not, it was outside of his character, because you would think Sacha Baron Cohen's character would say some shit like that,
but not Eddie Redmayne's character, right?
Yeah, not Eddie Redmayne's character, Tom Hawk. I forget his name.
Yeah.
But when he
right, so he saw when the police started getting scared, they pulled out a billy club and they hit someone in the crowd, and the person they hit happened to be Eddie Redmayne's close friend, and Eddie Redmayne happened to be on stage at the time, and he started shouting about blood running in the streets. Now, his intention about what he said and what he meant to say and what it sounded like, there's some arguments there about either way. But either way, he reacted to seeing the police beating his friend, and so did the rest of the crowd, and this started a riot. So I said earlier that the crowd had 2 options, right? After seeing the police beat this young kid with the billy club, they could have, 1, reacted like humans and been really upset and mad, and which is what they did.
Human nature.
Or they could have been little angels and just calmly said, "Oh, please don't beat us to death, Mr. Officer." I mean, come on, like, it's ridiculous. Obviously, they're gonna act like humans and be scared and upset and fight, and that's what happened. So again, depending on your political standing, you might see that the police started it, like the Johnson administration, or you could say that the protesters started it, like the Nixon administration. So it's like an interesting like political Rorschach test.
Yeah, man. Wasn't there a scene also where they kept showing this imagery of these cops taking off their names and taking off their badges, basically hiding the truth from anyone that wants to see them and actually say who the cop was that did these acts.
Yep.
They pushed them through a store, right?
Yep. Well, what's funny about them taking the badges off is that was actually an accusation that the police had against them during the George Floyd riots, that the police put tape over their names and over their badge numbers. So, like I said, it's crazy how like nothing changes. But right, you're right. They cornered Sacha Baron Cohen's character next to this glass window, and the camera cuts, so we don't actually see what happened, but everyone falls through the window. It's highly insinuated that the police shoved them through the window. I don't know how they could have fallen through the window any other way.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're taking off their badges and stuff like that insinuates that they didn't want to be seen or known that they shoved them through the window.
Yeah, they knew
So-
they were doing something really messed up.
And all of this is coming up in Ramsey Clark testimony. And the jury wasn't in the room.
Right. Yeah, the jury wasn't in the room.
Wasn't in the room.
Because the judge, he was, again, either a monster or completely senile, I don't know. But he was like, let me hear the evidence first, and then I'll decide for the jury if this is relevant or not.
That is so illegal.
and the lawyers were like, what? No, that's not how this is supposed to work. And he's like, take it or leave it. This is what we're gonna do. And so that's what they did.
Yeah, and it,
like you said,
he
the jury
was
was
like,
in the room.
and he had warned the former Attorney General, that if you continue to talk, I'm gonna have to hold you in contempt.
New left.
Mr. Clark, please, sir, I will be forced to find you in contempt. You understand? I do, Your Honor.
And he's like, okay. And then he kept saying this shit. He was like, he did this, they did that, and there's my testimony and stuff. He's like, gotta hold you in contempt. Blah, 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 blah. So
By our criminal division led to the conclusion that the riots were started by the Chicago Police Department.
it's like he had their back, you know.
But the most revealing line, I think, came right after that scene, when the former Attorney General, again played by Michael Keaton, got off the stand. He walked by the lawyer, and the lawyer was like, the lawyer for the defense, and the lawyer was like, oh, what do we do now? And the former Attorney General was like, just prepare for the appeal, because he's like, essentially he's saying you're going to lose this. The judge is not on your side. He's not listening to any kind of reason. This is a kangaroo court. It's a joke. Just prepare for the appeal, because this is working any more than you work now for this particular trial. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they were convicted for starting the riot.
That is so stupid that they were convicted for starting a riot. Each of them got 5 years in prison.
Well, they were convicted for 5 years, but they didn't serve 5 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. They got the appeal did come, and they had a different judge, and the new judge was like, "What in the hell?" He threw it all out. He threw it out, and they didn't. They went home. And so, like, it was a complete kangaroo court. It was a joke. The whole thing from beginning to end was just a political ploy by the Nixon administration to crush his opponents. And it couldn't be more obvious to anyone paying attention. It doesn't even matter your political standpoint. This was just like so blatantly corrupt.
Exactly. And you wasted a whole bunch of taxpayers' money.
Sure did. My
and
God.
you wasted a whole bunch of time of 7 some odd months or whatever of a trial that doesn't need to be there.
Yep.
And including a brother that was there that you just wanted to have as a token piece.
Yep.
It's so stupid. Now, when it comes to me rating this film, I can't rate it on the same scale of something like Judas and the Black Messiah. Or something like One Night in Miami. That what I can say, the similarity of of that one scene between Sasha's character
and Eddie Redmayne's character.
It did hark back to One Night in Miami, of the scene between Sam Cooke and Malcolm X. How powerful those lines were. And I'm like, that's just great acting, man. I have to give it to Sasha and Eddie Redmayne's character that they put some good character development and good dialogue, and they did the good use of dialogue in that scene. Rating this, I'm gonna give it a 6.5, maybe.
6.5. Well, like you said, this movie was nominated for a gajillion Oscars. And I can totally see why. It is 100% Oscar bait. And in case you don't know what Oscar bait is is a movie that isn't necessarily good. Because again, we mentioned this in another episode. But a lot of the people who vote for Oscars in the Academy, they don't watch these films. So they just like the idea of films. They don't actually see them. So just the idea of this film is perfect Oscar bait. The whole film takes place in 1969. So if you were around back then, you're probably a little older. Like most of the people who are in the Academy, they wear costumes. The Academy loves costumes. So it's a period piece with costumes, and it's a political film, but it's a political film that centers around the white guys. Like, I don't know why. I thought the most compelling stuff was Bobby Seale and the Black Panthers. Now, he had no involvement in any of this anyway. But the story centers around the white guys. So I can totally see how this is just perfect Oscar bait. That being said, even though it's gotten all these accolades, I agree with you, Tyrone. I don't think it's like that great of a movie. I think it's a little bit safe. And sometimes it can be a little dry. Especially like the beginning. There's the opening scene, which is important in hindsight. But while I was watching it, I was like nodding off. Like in the opening scene, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's being briefed by I forget who, but someone from the Nixon administration. I believe it was the sitting Attorney General. Saying like, oh, you're gonna get this big case. This is big for you. We're gonna give it to you. You're gonna be the lead prosecutor. And blah, 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 blah. And I thought this was boring. But only in hindsight are you like, oh, they gave it to this young kid because they know they're going to win this. This is
exactly.
It's cooked. So I'm like, got it. I get it. But at the time, that scene was boring. I thought I was like, whoa, why would you start your movie here? So, and there are points in the film where I kind of felt like that too, where it was like a little slow, a little sluggish. People were more interested in saying fancy things instead of actually like getting to the point. So, like you, Tyrone, I would probably give this movie. It's not nearly as good as Judas and the Black Messiah or One Night in Miami or anything like that. No, even though they are very similar, it's not nearly as good to me. I think I would give this movie. Yeah, I guess if I'm gonna be nice, because it's raining. It's raining outside here, so you got to be nice. So I'm gonna give this movie a 6. It's not a bad movie. It's fine. I don't know if I can recommend it because it's a bit slow. But maybe if you are really interested in, courtroom dramas or this particular trial interests you, if you're like that, this movie's got a lot for you because there's a lot of great performances and it's written really well, like you said, Tyrone. So
just remember the whole point of the trial. It's kind of like hearing that crazy little dance song in your head. That's what it's a joke.
Yeah, the whole trial's a joke. The whole trial.
It's all a joke.
And-
But great performances by Eddie Raymond, and especially Sacha Baron Cohen. He definitely deserves that Oscar nod. So
Yep, I agree. And we mentioned before we started recording about how great like comedians are at acting. Like because Sacha Baron Cohen, he's really good. His accent's a little funny, but I think I can get over it. I think he's supposed to be from
like
Brooklyn.
New Yorker or something.
Yeah, I
like
think he's
that.
supposed to be like from Brooklyn or something. It didn't sound right to my ear, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Other than that, I thought he was really good. He's very like acidic.
You're in Brooklyn. You don't hear that every day.
That's true. I'm in. Oh my! I hear the funniest accent. I'm from the South, so like the accents here to me are just hilarious, and I have to stop myself from like laughing because it sounds like a joke. I'm like, does he know he sounds like that? Anyway,
Yo, I got one thing to say. It's brick outside. It's brick as hell. Let me stop. Before people who are from New York watch this video, yo, let me turn this shit off, son.
Or just running your mouth out there.
But, yeah, that's what we give it. We give it a 6.5, 6 from Devin. And that's our take on the trial of Chicago 7.
There will be order.
We have to find some courage now.
How much is it worth to you? What's your price?
To call off the revolution?
My life.
Open your eyes, 'cause a new day is dawning.
Now, on to something that is fun.
The trial of Chicago's Heaven wasn't not fun, but it wasn't as fun as, you know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
A good friend of mine once said, "The price of freedom is high. It always will be."
Telling you.
Yeah, the ending was crazy.
It was crazy. It was symbolic. It was beautiful. But let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's start at the top. So this one, like you said, it picks up right afterwards, and the woman from Wakanda, she tells the Winter Soldier that he's got 8 hours to do whatever the heck he wants to do with Zemo before she taking Zemo. And
well, actually, before that even happens, they flash back to Wakanda 6 years later.
I was just about to tell you that.
And they're basically testing, if those words still work on Bucky after they did the treatment on Bucky to get that brainwash out of him. And I tell you, great acting by
Sebastian Stan killed it. It's just great close up of his face. He just looks like he's like in so much pain and he's so much fear. It's awesome.
Because you got to think about it, dude. Even if those words, like the fact that those words didn't work was great, and it was like tears of joy, but it was also tears of pain because with those words, he's having flashbacks of everything that he's done to everyone.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, there's a lot of fear too. Like, what if he actually goes back and he goes crazy again and he doesn't have control anymore? And you can get all of that. That scene is mostly silent. We just hear. I think her name is Ayo. We just hear Ayo saying the words to trigger the Winter Soldier, and the camera just pushes closer and closer on Sebastian Stan's face, and you can just read all those emotions on his face. He's not saying anything. He's just crying, and he looks scared and angry and sad. It's just
happy.
Yeah, happy. All of it. Yeah, it's just great performance. Awesome.
Yeah. Talk about Oscar nominating.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
Give him an Emmy just for that.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he's really doing it.
So it goes back to where you were saying that Ayo was there at the end. It picks up right there after that at the end of episode 3, and she did say, "You got 8 hours with Zemo before and he was just like, she's like, how could you free him? And he's like, he said it in their language. He said, he's just a means to an end. That's it. That's all he is. And she's like, you got 8 hours, and then we need him back. We're gonna get him. So they're trying to find where Carly is, and and they tracked her to the same city where her mom is from, and then
I think it was in Prague.
I think it was Prague, yeah. And Sam had an idea because he grew up, he's around New Orleans, Louisiana, where when someone dies, they throw like kind of a parade and they throw like a going away type of thing. And he's like, maybe that's what they're doing. So we can go to that it was like a shelter or something?
Yeah, some sort of camp or
camp or something, and ask around there about where this ceremony is happening.
Right, the funeral. Mm-hmm.
The funeral. And nobody's saying nothing to Sam or Bucky or nothing. But Zemo comes with some Turkish delights.
Right, some candy.
And he sees a group of children over there, which is ironically weird because in a version of the comics, he recruits children to be a part of his army.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does. And
right,
it is a flashback.
He's really good with the kids and the
exactly.
He's really good with them, and the kids are. He's like, oh, I've got Turkish delight, irresistible, and the kids are like, ooh, ooh.
And he's like, that was my son's favorite.
Yeah. He's like, do you know where Carly is? And they're like, mm-hmm. And he's like, whispered in my ear. And he gets all the intel that he needs, while Falcon and Winter Soldier are all like, where's Carly? Where is she?
Where are they? Where is she?
They're not getting anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And he tells the kids not to trust them. They are bad men.
Mm-hmm.
And then he knows where she is, and she's having the funeral things in a certain section. And out of nowhere, freaking John Walker comes out of nowhere, and he's like, all right, where's this? Where's that? I'm big guy on campus.
Well, it's not even necessarily nowhere, because he mentioned in the previous episode that they had no leads. They had no clue where Carly was, and he was like, look, we should just start following someone who has better leads. Again, that was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, he's just their little shadow. He's got no clue how to run this mission on his own.
And nothing at all. So Zemo's like, look, and he's like, well, first let's say, why did you break him out? And he's like, look, man, he's trying to help us, all right? So Zemo meets up with the little girl. They find out where Carly is. Carly's having the funeral for her mom. And then Sam said, just give me 10 minutes with her, because I've worked with, warriors who come back from war with PTSD and all this stuff, and maybe I could talk her back and talk her down.
Because when we first meet Sam back in Captain America: Winter Soldier, he is a grief counselor, and he talks to people who have been suffering through all kinds of PTSD or grief and things like that. So of course he'd be great at it. And so and it's super interesting how they show Sam's tactics versus the new Captain America. What's his name?
John Walker.
John Walker's tactics. So Sam is very respectful. He finds her. He finds Carly and the Flag Smashers. And instead of just like breaking through the glass and being like, "You're coming with me," instead he's like, he's very respectful. He sits quietly. He lets it be known that he's got them. He stands there. He's like, "Gotcha." He doesn't say anything. He lets them have their ceremony. He lets Carly's mom have the send away that she needs. And then, like you said, he calmly goes up to her and just talks to her like a human, like one person would to another person. And this is something that couldn't be more foreign to John Walker. He's like, this is not something that he would ever do.
Right, exactly. And when Sam is talking to him, he makes her feel comfortable to actually just have a here and here conversation between two people. And he's like, you know what? People are saying that you are a terrorist. And she's like, what? I'm not a terrorist and stuff like that. But she said that she will kill anyone to get her point across. So that is terrorism.
And to show that she's being a hypocrite, Sam just like raises an eyebrow. He's like, she was like, I'll kill anybody that gets in the way. And Sam's just like, do you hear yourself?
You hear yourself? You know? And so basically, John Walker, he's up there fidgeting and he's just twitching, and they're all just sitting out there letting Sam do his thing. Even freaking Battlestar was like, hey man, calm down, chill for a second, you know, give him time and stuff. And he's like,
well, the reason why he's fidgeting, we skipped over a scene. Before that, John Walker confronts Bucky and Sam and Zemo in their hotel. And he's like,
yeah, that's right.
He's like, look, I need you to tell me where to get Carly. You tell me or you go to jail. You know, he's like, I'm Captain America. You listen to me. You know, he's got his chest all out and all this, you know, and everyone's like, whatever, John. But then in the middle of that, the Dora Milaje interrupt, and they're like, look, they're like, look, anyway, I see Mr. Fake Captain America, and I see y'all people over here playing costumes, whatever. I want Zemo.
Hi, John Walker, Captain America.
And John Walker, he thinks he's like Mr. Big and Bad, and he confronts the Dora Milaje, and they kick his ass so hard.
Not only did he confronts her, he says the Dora Milaje doesn't have jurisdiction here, right. And then she says the Dora Milaje has jurisdiction wherever the Dora Milaje is, and I'm like, when it okay, and then they start fighting, and Bucky gives a little quip. Yeah, fighting because
really just the Dora Milaje just kick everybody's ass. But
exactly.
But mostly they kick John Walker's ass. He is absolutely humiliated and embarrassed by the fight. Like he's got his shield, but they throw a spear and it like goes through the straps in the spear and he can't move it. So it's like, oh, so now you're just a dude. You're just a guy.
Just a guy
in a fancy costume.
Yep, and
I liked during that scene how they Bucky tries to stop it, and they literally disarm Bucky.
Yep,
his arm falls off.
As like a fail-safe, and it's kind of like they created that as a fail-safe just in case their thing didn't work with the words and stuff, getting that stuff out of his brain, but. You know, and you see a look on his face. He was like, "What the what?"
His arm just fell on the floor.
So, and then he was like, "Did you know you can do? They can do that?" And he's like, "No." But
that
Zemo is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Zemo escapes.
Yep,
Zemo escapes.
Yep. But that scene is important to. We got to talk about that first before we talk about why John Walker was upset later, because John Walker had a chip on his shoulder. After being, no one's listening to him, and he got his ass kicked, and he's getting humiliated. He's upset now, and he just wants to show everyone who's the alpha male, who's the boss. It's me. I'm Captain America. So when Sam is in there talking calmly to Carly, he's fidgeting. He's like, "No, we didn't go in there, kick some ass." You know, and it's just.
And he gets into Bucky's head, and he's like, your guy's in there. He needs your help and backup and all this other stuff. And then Bucky's like, "Oh, fine," and he lets them in. And he's like, "Carly, whatever her last name is, you're under arrest." Morgenthau, yeah, you're under arrest. And then she's like, "I knew it." And he ends up punching him, and this whole chase thing happens. It's like a maze and stuff that's down there in the catacombs, and they get split up. She runs into where I guess the vials and stuff were. Zemo comes out of nowhere.
The vials of the super soldier serum.
The vials of super soldier. Yeah, thank you. There's I don't know how many's left. Like 7 probably left. Something 7 vials. Yeah. Zemo comes out of there and shoots her. She is a super soldier, but she's not indestructible. She's not Luke Cage, okay? So.
And I thought it was funny that Zemo does the thing that you would think you would do. If you see the bad guy, shoot her. And he's like, "Oh, bow." No hesitation.
Just like
it's kind of funny.
Just like what is that? Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Oh,
finished.
So
she survives though. She's shot.
She survives. She survives. But Zemo sees all that on the ground. He's like, I don't want no more super soldiers. Bam! Crush, 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 crush. Out of nowhere, the daggone shield comes out of nowhere and knocks him in the head. Cause we see Captain America right there, and he's like, huh. And he looks around, and there's one vial of super soldier serum that Zemo did not step on. And he's like, and he's like, this is gonna help me be the man. So he puts it in his pocket.
The important thing about the super soldier serum, and the reason why they were very specific and only giving it to Steve, is that it amplifies whatever's already in you. So Steve happened to be a good guy, and when he became Captain America, he became a better guy. And John Walker was a killer.
He's a killer. He's a soldier, yeah.
A ruthless soldier. We learned that while he's a decorated soldier, he did some pretty, dodgy stuff while he was, when he was in Afghanistan. So he takes the super soldier serum. He takes it off screen, but all of that bad stuff is amplified in him, and so he becomes this like super hyper aggressive version of Captain America. He's throwing his shield, and the shield, instead of it like hitting the wall and being like bing, it's like hitting the wall like boom. And all this debris is flying out. It's like crazy.
Before that happens, after that scene happens, when he puts the serum in his pocket, Carly calls Sam's sister, and she's like, she basically says, I'm trying to figure out if I want to kill your brother or not. And then she's like, you're working with your brother's working with that Captain America. And she's like, no, he's not. And then she's like, why would we even associate ourselves with him when our country don't care about us? Basically, that's what I said. Marvel, you are doing it. You are just letting this drip down of equality here. And hypocrisy within the inequality. So,
and of course, Falcon is aghast. He's like, this terrorist just contacted my sister.
Exactly.
And threatened her. He's like horrified.
Not only did he threaten her, she knows exactly where her location is.
She knows her location. She knows her kids. She knows everything.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get on my suit. We're gonna go find her. And they find her exactly where she is. And before that happened, he calls Sharon and be like, we need to make sure you have eyes on John Walker. Okay, let me know when he gets close, because he's a loose cannon. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, okay. Sharon said that, and then so she shows up. Sam and Bucky shows up, even though she told Carly told him to show up alone. He's like, no. And Bucky's like, I'm going with you. I don't know what you're talking about. So they show up, and
but at least he was honest about it. She was like, you're not alone, and he's like, of course not. No. I'm not going to meet you alone. he wasn't. The Winter Soldier wasn't like hiding somewhere. Yeah. He was just standing there.
Like, do something. So So what's his name? Sharon let Sam know that John's on his way, and then they all break out, and John's coming upstairs, and he is exerting all of that anger and that rage, and you can see that it's in him, because somehow Battlestar and John Walker get separated, and Battlestar gets taken, and then he's get tied up and everything. So that's just making John Walker just trying to figure out where the heck he is, and he's coming there.
Right, because they're old friends. They're old friends from the war, from Afghanistan.
Exactly.
So they're like brothers.
Yeah, that's my partner. So he comes up there, and they try to find out where he is, and they all meet in this area, I guess, and they're fighting. They're all super soldiers against Sam and the new Cap, and they're all fighting. And but Sam sees something before they get upstairs. He kicks this. John kicks this soldier down the stairs with brute force and a lot of energy, and he bends a pipe around this dude's gun. And Sam is like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "They took Lamar." And then he goes upstairs, and they're all racing in there and fighting upstairs. And everything's happening really, really fast. And then Lamar, he actually breaks free out of his ties, and he goes up there to save John from getting hit.
But before we get to that, this is kind of what I was talking about before with Captain America, the new Captain America being super aggressive. Like you said, he's been in the pipes. When he throws the shield, it hits the wall like an explosion. It's like boom! Like he's a super angry, super aggressive version of Captain America. Go ahead.
Very much so. So Lamar tries to save him, right? So Carly sees him, punches Lamar in the freaking chest, and just like Rick James get kicked in the. It's just. You know what I'm saying? And then
keep in mind, Carly has the super soldier serum inside of her, so her kicks are not normal kicks.
Not normal kicks, but he fires back like Rick James. Ah!
I kicked the shit out of him.
He hits the wall, and he is bleeding out of every hole in him, and he's just like, you assume that this man is dead. John Walker sees this. Everyone pauses.
I'm pretty sure he's dead. He looks like the movie's telling you he's dead. He's got blood coming out of everywhere. He ain't moving. And again, John Walker's facial expression is like pure horror.
Pure horror.
Like,
you killed my friend. You killed my friend.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's dead.
So everyone runs outside. John Walker bursts out the window, does a super villain landing.
Well, he does the same jump through the window with the shield in the landing that Captain America did in The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So but of course the context is completely different. When Captain America did it, it was like heroic, but this time it's like horrible. You're like, oh no, what's he doing?
No, because I had a feeling something was gonna happen. So he chases down Carly's best friend, this guy, and he rams him in the back with the shield, and he's like, "Where's Carly? Boo! Where's Carly? We didn't mean it." And then he does a direct freaking mirror parallel image of what Captain and Iron Man were fighting.
Yep.
And Cap stopped. Okay.
Right.
He stopped.
Cap was about to hit. He was about to kill Iron Man with his shield. But then he stopped and threw it aside.
Exactly. Threw it to the side.
In this movie,
he went straight through and killed her friend. Blood everywhere. Awesome.
All over
blood,
the shield.
All over the shield. And everyone around is filming hits the name of the show, of the episode, The World Is Watching. And
right. So the scene is shot really, it's like all the shots are super tight. So at first you don't realize there's people around. Like you hear it, but you don't really see it. And then after he like kills this guy with the shield, he looks up and everyone's got their cell phones out, and they just witnessed Captain America brutally kill an unarmed man.
And it's like, dude, it's like foreshadowing everything that Steve did, and it's also foreshadowing to an extent Isaiah, because he was a good man and the serum worked for him, but it didn't matter what it meant to America is that he was a black man. So we're gonna use you as the guinea pig, and it's like you would think that they will actually choose somebody as honorable as Isaiah, just like Steve was, but they choose some thug.
Yeah, exactly.
Some thug.
Well, they kind of insinuated that maybe the American government didn't know he was a thug, because we only knew that he did some messed up stuff in Afghanistan because it was a private conversation between him and Battlestar, and even that conversation they weren't exactly like loud about it. Yeah. They were kind of like we kind of did some funny stuff in Afghanistan.
Yeah. And
to get all these medals.
In the previous scene, before he even took the serum, him and John Walker and Lamar was sitting down talking, And he was like, would you take the serum? He was like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, Lamar didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
I think he said hell yeah.
Yeah. And then, but he was like, it'll just amplify. He said you take Carly, and you take Cap, and in Lamar's eyes, he sees that his friend is good-hearted and legit because a lot of stuff that they did and saved people and stuff like that.
Right. They did terrible things for the right
reasons, and that's all he sees. And it was, man, this episode.
Well, I mean, what's interesting about that is John Walker again did a terrible thing, but maybe for the right reason. He really did.
We do not.
He really did kill a terrorist.
We do not.
It wasn't
okay.
This wasn't like some guy walking down the street,
Get it.
with this dog. It was a terrorist.
But you do not want to stoop down to their level. Okay.
Of course not.
Because Steve could have done that plenty of times with several people. Of course. But Steve didn't do that.
They were trying to show that doing bad things for the right reasons is still a bad thing. Like, you still did a bad thing. So he's not worthy of the super soldier serum. He's not the right person to have that in him because
he is not worthy to wield Mjolnir. He's not.
No, of course not. Yeah, of course not. That thing wouldn't budge if you try to pick it up. He wouldn't even wiggle.
It'll probably shock him. Just get the hell away from me.
Go the other way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not gonna tell you, bro. And that was the end of the show. That was the end of the episode. I wish they would have like end credit scenes, at least one or something. They probably do it at the end of the show. There's only 2 episodes left, and bro, this is amazing, man. This is a 10 out of 10 for me again. You know what I'm saying? I think this whole show is gonna come out to a 10 out of 10 by the end of this.
I don't know. I think I don't give it a 10, but I do give it maybe like an 8. This was a good episode. But I think because this episode ended on such a shocking note with John Walker brutally killing a man and there's blood all over the shield, I predict, and by the time this video comes out, it'll be obvious that I'm either completely right or completely wrong.
All right.
I think the next episode, perfect time to slow down. And so I think this next episode, we're going to get a flashback.
Basil's going to return? Basil's going to return?
No.
You've got mail.
Hello, Basil.
Hello, Austin.
Oh, I hope not. God, I hope it's not anything like that. But I do think we're going to get a flashback to Isaiah this next episode. And we're going to learn more about the super soldier serum and more details about it and Isaiah's dealings with the super soldier serum before we move forward with what happens next with John Walker. That's my completely baseless prediction.
That's your completely baseless prediction. My prediction is we're gonna find out who the power broker is.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, God, what was that?
Ooh, got something in your throat, man. Ooh,
I hope we're catching this thing going around, you know. But,
Rona.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see that who the power broker is, and as you can see with my throat clearing, I think I know who it is. But that's on a different episode. Got it?
But it is interesting though that you said we're probably gonna find out who the power broker is, and it's possible. But what's interesting is clearly they're not gonna have a big role because there's only 2 episodes left. So,
true. It's just gonna be a reveal. That's all it is.
Or they might not have any reveal at all. We're pretty late. We're pretty late in the series. So whoever it is, they're not gonna have a big role. So they might not reveal who it is. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Don't know.
So
hope they do.
Oh, what?
I hope they do, and I hope it's Sharon.
Yeah, I hope it's Sharon too, because I'll be like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. I called it.
It'll be nice. It'll be nice to have a good guy go bad. I feel like that's kind of cool. That's always fun.
Yeah, I want to say she's bad. I say she's making a means for herself because she can't come back.
Yeah, if it is Sharon, then she's clear. She's not bad, but she's like in that gray area. She's like in that like.
She's Magneto.
Magneto's bad though, so I don't know. Magneto's just sympathetic.
Shit,
he's just sympathetic. He's still bad.
Oh man. Well, that's what we got today. on Mostly Wrong Opinions. I'd like to thank you for clicking on this video and sharing our time together. Leave the comments down below. Let us know what you thought about both of these things, the Trial of Chicago 7 and also episode 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Again, I am Tyrone, and you can find me on my band's Instagram, that is yerp_ATL, and also you can find me on my new YouTube channel, which is Yerp Nation Reactions. Okay, and that is also twitch.tv/Yerp Nation Gaming, where I do my gaming live.
And I'm Devin. You can find me right here on YouTube at Mostly Wrong Opinions. You can find me on Instagram at Mostly Wrong Opinions. You can find me on TikTok at Mostly Wrong Opinions. And I also have my own personal Instagram too. It's Devin Harris29.
You can find me on all those things too, except for his personal Instagram. We don't share that together. That'd be weird. So, and also do it for everyone while you subscribe and hit the notification bell on this show here. Leave a like, and also you could probably leave a dislike. Whatever it is your opinion. But just remember one thing: it's mostly wrong. You guys have a good night. Peace.